Shravanam Diaries podcast.
Hare Krishna. We're continuing to read Bhagavad Gita as it is, the book by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Chapter 9, The Most Confidential Knowledge, Text 11. Avajananti mammudha manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. Purport. From the other explanations of the previous verses in this chapter, it is clear that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although appearing like a human being, is not a common man. The personality of Godhead who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the complete cosmic manifestation cannot be a human being. Yet, there are many foolish men who consider Krishna to be merely a powerful man and nothing more. Actually, he is the original Supreme Personality, as is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Paramah Krishna. He is the Supreme Lord. There are many Ishvaras, controllers, and one appears greater than the other. In the ordinary management of affairs in the material world, we find some official or director, and above him there is a secretary, and above him a minister, and above him is a president. Each of them is a controller, but one is controlled by another. In the Brahma Samhita it is said that Krishna is the supreme controller. There are many controllers, undoubtedly, both in the material and spiritual world, but Krishna is the supreme controller. Ishvara Parama Krishna. And his body is Satchit Ananda, non-material. Material bodies cannot perform the wonderful acts described in previous verses. His body is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Although he is not a common man, the foolish deride him and consider him to be a man. His body is called here Manushim because he is acting just like a man, a friend of Arjuna's, a politician involved in the battle of Kurukshetra. That's why it says human-like pastimes, isn't it? In so many ways he is acting just like an ordinary man, but actually his body is Satchitananda Vigraha, eternal bliss and knowledge absolute. This is confirmed in the Vedic language also. Satchit Ananda Rupaya Krishnaya. Quote, I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the eternal blissful form of knowledge. Unquote. Gopal Tapani Upanishad 1.1. There are other descriptions in the Vedic language also. Tamekam Govindam. You are Govinda, the pleasure of the senses and the cows. Satchitananda Vigraha. And your form is transcendental, full of knowledge, bliss, and eternality. Unquote. Gopal Tapani Upanishad 1.35. Despite the transcendental qualities of Lord Krishna's body, its full bliss and knowledge, there are many so-called scholars and commentators of Bhagavad Gita who deride Krishna as an ordinary man. The scholar may be born an extraordinary man due to his previous good work, but this conception of Sri Krishna is due to a poor fund of knowledge. Therefore, he is called Mudha, for only foolish persons consider Krishna to be an ordinary human being. The foolish consider Krishna an ordinary human being because they do not know the confidential activities of the Supreme Lord and his different energies. They do not know what Krishna's body they do not know that Krishna's body is a symbol of complete knowledge and bliss, that he is the proprietor of everything that be, and that he can award liberation to anyone. Because they do not know that Krishna has so many transcendental qualifications, they deride him. Yeah. I think one time my Guru Maharaj was saying that when devotees begin to deride one another, you can understand that personification of the age of Kali, that Kali is there. Nor do they know that the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this material world is a manifestation of his internal potency. He is the master of the material energy. As has been explained in several places, Mama Maya Duratyaya, he claims that the material energy, although very powerful, is under his control, and whoever surrenders unto him can get out of the control of this material energy. If a soul surrendered to Krishna can get out of the influence of material energy, then how can the Supreme Lord, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the whole cosmic nature, have a material body like us? So this conception of Krishna is complete foolishness. Foolish people, however, cannot conceive that the personality of Godhead, Krishna, appearing just like an ordinary man, can be the controller of all the atoms and of the gigantic manifestation of the universal form. The biggest and the minutest are beyond their conception, so they cannot imagine that a form like that of a human being can simultaneously control the infinite and the minute. Actually, although he is controlling the infinite and the finite, he is apart from all this manifestation. It is clearly stated concerning his Yogam Aishwaram, his inconceivable transcendental energy, that he can control the infinite and the finite simultaneously, and that he can remain aloof from them. Right? So usually we say either you're involved or you're not involved. How can you simultaneously control infinite and the finite and at the same time not be involved at all? Just like yesterday we said that, like Krishna, he just looks, the Lord looks at the material nature and everything is already starting to move. So he is aloof. Although the foolish cannot imagine how Krishna, who appears just like a human being, can control the finite and the infinite, those who are pure devotees accept this, for they know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore they completely surrender unto him and engage in Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Lord. There are many controversies between the impersonalists and the personalists about the Lord's appearance as a human being. But if we consult Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the authoritative texts for understanding the science of Krishna, then we can understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is not an ordinary man, although he appeared on this earth as an ordinary man. In the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto, first chapter, when the sages headed by Shaunaka inquired from the activities of Krishna, they said, Krittavan kila karmani saharamena keshava ati martyani bhagavan godha kapatamanusaha. Quote, Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with Balaram, played like a human being, and so masked, he performed many superhuman acts. Unquote. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.20. I strongly believe that unless we all become, educated in regards to how dramas and acting is performed, we will not be able to understand Krishna. I know it sounds silly, but thing is that, constantly I come across, when we were in the Madhurya Kadamini Mataji's drama group of Cloud of Nectar Theatre, we had very close relationship with each other as a team, and sometimes we would have potluck, right? It's called potluck, because all of us, we wanted to get together and discuss, drama and our service to Japtaka Maharaj and everything. But it's not like somebody of us could take the heavy responsibility of cooking for everybody. There's how much? 20-30 people. So we would have potluck, and it was very fun. And we would read these descriptions how Lord Nityananda, he would do the pastimes, he would make dramas, right? When Lord Nityananda was a child. And how Srila Prabhupada said that this is better than my books, right? The drama. And actually, when you come across the pastimes of Vrindavan, when you read Srimad Bhagavatam, excuse me, when you read Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, you will see that it has a lot to do with Krishna also acting. Here it says, played like a human being. Played, So Krishna's, we all say we're an international society for Krishna consciousness, right? Of course, we know that it's coming out of our mouth, just I really liked, yesterday I finally went to the class of Jagadish Prabhu and Jugala Mataji, or was it day before yesterday that I heard in the recording, and the reading also, Bhagavatam. They said that, it's too, we have these things coming out of us automatically, Who is the Supreme Lord? Krishna. Where does he live? Vrindavan. What should we do? Chant holy name. Be happy, And actually, I had a big, how do I define it now? I had a big revelation when my husband, when we got married, and a couple of years within marriage, my husband pointed that out in me, in the sense that he said, don't be cerebral. Don't be cerebral. Cerebral means that we're having a conversation, and then I just, without feeling the context of the situation, without feeling what exactly to say, without being sensitive to the other person, I just keep throwing quotes because it matches, just like computer. When you're typing, a smartphone basically, when you're typing, he's like, do you mean this word? Do you mean that word? Do you mean this word? It just comes automatically, cerebral. He used that word, cerebral. But actually things are not cerebral. Things are organic, and things are deep, and they're supposed to be deep and supposed to be very personal. Not that just we know some quotes, but then in our life, like, we don't know whether we're applying it, whether we're actually meditating on it, whether we're actually not even knowing Krishna, but at least, seeing him from that perspective, right? So Krishna played like a human being. He played like that. I really like how, thanks to Premanjan Prabhu, I recently read the entire Govardhan Leela described with the commentaries of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And it's really interesting how it was described that, Krishna didn't say anything to Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma was crying. He was feeling very, very guilty. He felt bad that he did what he did. And it's described that Krishna, he just remained silent with his, sweet rice in his hand. And it's described that he was like an actor playing. And, Krishna, even though he knew that it's Lord Brahma, he stole the cows and calves. At the same time, he was acting as if he is just a cowherd boy who doesn't know, what does this four-headed person talking to me? So I really like that kind of element, the drama element, that acting element. That, if you really want to understand Krishna's pastimes, you have to understand that he is a marvelous actor. Yeah. He plays like a human being. He is such a good actor. He plays like a human being so nicely that foolish people, they're laughing at him. They're saying, you're a human being. But we have to understand, he's just a very, very good actor. Isn't it? Oh my goodness. So, let's read this verse again. Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with Balaram, played like a human being. And so, masked, he performed many superhuman acts. Unquote. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.20. Right? Masked. Yeah. The Lord's appearance as a man bewilders the foolish. No human being could perform the wonderful acts that Krishna performed while he was present on this earth. When Krishna appeared before his father and mother, Vasudeva and Devaki, he appeared with 4 hands, but after the prayers of the parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child. As stated in the Bhagavatam 10.3.46, Babhuva Prakrita Shishu, he became just like an ordinary child, an ordinary human being. Now, here again, it is indicated that the Lord's appearance as an ordinary human being is one of the features of his transcendental body. In the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita also, it is stated that Arjuna prayed to see Krishna's form of 4 hands. 4 hands. Tenaiva rupena chaturbhujena. After revealing this form, Krishna, when petitioned by Arjuna, again assumed his original human-like form, Manusham Rupam. These different features of the Supreme Lord are certainly not those of an ordinary human being. Some of those who deride Krishna and who are infected with the Mayavadi philosophy quote the following verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.29.21 to prove that Krishna is just an ordinary man. Aham sarveshu bhuteshu bhutatma vastitah sada. Quote, the Supreme is present in every living entity. Unquote. We should better take note of this particular verse from the Vaishnava Acharyas like Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, instead of following the interpretation of unauthorized persons who deride Krishna. Jiva Goswami, commenting on this verse, says that Krishna, in his plenary expansions as Paramatma, is situated in the moving and non-moving entities as the Supersoul. So any devotee, any neophyte devotee who simply gives his attention to the Archa Murti, the form of the Supreme Lord in a temple, and does not respect other living entities, is uselessly worshipping the form of the Lord in the temple. Just like recently in Brahminical Culture and Ethics, Premanjan Prabhu and Bimla Prasad Prabhu, they had this thing that I think in the first or second class, they asked the students to everyday practice seeing that seeing the super soul or seeing the Lord in the hearts of other devotees. And every day they would ask, like, so how's your practice? Did you see everybody as, temples of the Lord, and the Lord, did you see that Paramatma is in everyone's heart? Right? And they learned it from Adipurusha Prabhu. He was the initial teacher of Brahminical Culture and Ethics, and it's a very powerful practice, actually. That's what makes us go on the next level, actually. If we really respect other living entities, if we really, truly respect other living entities, no matter what they do, no matter how fallen they are, just because, they're parts and parcels of Krishna, and just because Krishna is there inside of their hearts, whether you like it or not, he's there. And you can disrespect someone, you may want to destroy someone, you may want to, cause harm to someone, you may want to, really punish someone more than they actually deserve, over punish. You can do so many things. You can be cruel, you can be harsh with someone, but if you don't respect him as a part and parcel of Krishna, at least give some respect to the super soul within the heart of that person. That's very, very important to understand, otherwise we will remain neophytes for the rest of our lives if we don't realize this simple point. I know that, I'm not saying that there will never be conflicts among devotees. I know for sure how, my parents, how they handled conflicts with their, with their, how do you call it? Dignity and respect. Basically, my dad would never have conflicts with anybody. He is the person who, no grudges, no worries, we're all friends, and basically, he doesn't at all go into this. Even if somebody, really disturbs him, he would still be like, Hare Krishna, what to do? But my mom, she's like, if you mess with her, then she would be like, okay, respect and reverence to you from a distance. My parents, they kind of taught me that also. They're you pay obeisances to the Paramatma within the heart of that person, and then you're respect and reverence from a distance. It's because some people can really hurt you or disturb you, but it doesn't mean that the super soul is not in the hearts of that person, right? And then we go back to the yesterday's verse. Krishna is the judge. Krishna will judge, because in Bhagavad Gita later on it will mention that demons, they take on austerities where they torture themselves, some severe type of austerities. They torture themselves and they torture the super soul within. So just because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and just because Paramatma is following us from throughout 8,400,000 species of life, it doesn't mean that Paramatma is not sentient. Does it mean that Paramatma doesn't feel for us? It doesn't mean that Paramatma, you slap or you like punch somebody. It doesn't mean that, if it's not done in a, if it's done unnecessarily, doesn't mean Paramatma will not sympathize and be empathic to the person. So, continuing to read. There are 3 kinds of devotees of the Lord, and the neophyte is the lowest stage. Neophyte is in the lowest stage. The neophyte devotees give more attention to the deity in the temple than to other devotees. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur warns. He warns that this sort of mentality should be corrected. A devotee should see that because Krishna is present in everyone's heart as Paramatma, everybody is the embodiment or the temple of the Supreme Lord. So as one offers respect, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, respect, to the temple of the Lord, he should similarly, properly respect each and every body in which the Paramatma dwells. So yeah, it's the most disgusting thing when we desire respect. But it is even more disgusting when we can't even give one drop of respect to another person. And when Lord Chaitanya says, Trinada piso nichana, tarora piso hishna, amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Krishna says, don't expect respect and don't be a miser by not giving respect to others. And I remember very clearly how Bhaktivedanta Maharaj said that this is what makes us personalists. This is the difference between being an impersonalist and a personalist. Because the impersonalists, they would take this thing, I don't expect respect from anybody, right? This is, if you take only one side of it, you're impersonalist. Because, I don't expect any respect for myself, but do you give respect to others? If you do, then you've got the formula correct. You can't just take out one thing and leave the other. You can't be like, oh, I'm more tolerant than a tree, but I have the audacity of audacity of who has great audacity? I have the audacity of a drunken sailor, Even they don't have that much audacity, as I've seen some people have. Yeah. So respect, giving proper respect to everybody, and then you don't desire any respect to yourself. Not that you deride everybody, you make fun of everybody, you look down upon everybody, you disrespect them, you offend them very, very liberally, and then you're like, well, I don't need any respect for myself. Of course you don't need any respect towards yourself. Because you don't know how to give respect to others. That's why you don't need any respect to yourself. You don't know the value of respect. I wanted to say a bad word in the end of my sentence. Yeah. But this is the culture. Vaishnava culture is a culture of respect. There is when was this? In 2020, my Guru Maharaj was giving a class on Ramanavami, and he was describing how Gopakumara, he came to Ayodhya, and he was describing that these citizens of Ayodhya, they're the most cultured people, most soft-hearted and gentle people you will ever meet. And interestingly, as many Ram Bhaktas as I've met, like my husband, or like some other close friends of mine, like who really who go into this Ram Leela, or very into Ram Leela, they're incredibly respectful and very, very gentle and very, very considerate. It's really Lord Namachandra, he's Maryada Purushottama. So okay, we will complete this commentary. So as one offers respect to the temple of the Lord, he should similarly, properly respect each and every body in which the Paramatma dwells. Everyone should therefore be given proper respect and should not be neglected. So basically, Trinada Pisunichina, Tarora Pisa Hishnuna, Amanina Manadina, it doesn't mean neglect everybody else and don't expect that everybody will be giving you respect. Trinada Pisunichina verse doesn't say that neglect everyone else and always be ready that they will neglect you. This is some sort of completely perverted understanding of the Trinada Pisunichina verse, you know? Like Trinada Pisunichina verse doesn't mean that have zero self-esteem, throw yourself and allow everybody to clean their shoes on your head and spit on you, and then do nothing, have absolutely no self-preservation, be negligent, and also expect that everybody else will be negligent of you. If somebody understands Trinada Pisunichina verse in this way, I'm sorry, I think something is wrong with your understanding, because I know for sure that I had that understanding, and I big time burned my fingers. Big time. Actually, I almost burnt alive because of that kind of perverted understanding. Yeah, I nearly died, literally. So, yeah, don't do that. Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not correct. It's foolish, and it's not Krishna consciousness. Okay, we're reading the last paragraph of this verse. There are also many impersonalists who deride temple worship. They say that since God is everywhere, why should one restrict himself to temple worship? But if God is everywhere, is he not in the temple or in the deity? Now we go to another extreme, right? There are people who are just like, Krishna is in the temple, but he's not in everybody's heart. And here people are like, Krishna is everywhere, but in the temple he is not there. What? So, if God is everywhere, is he not in the temple or in the deity? Although the personalist and the impersonalist will fight with one another perpetually. A perfect devotee in Krishna consciousness knows that although Krishna is the Supreme Personality, he is all-pervading. He is all-pervading. As confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, although his personal abode is Galoka Vrindavana and he is always staying there, by his different manifestations of energy and by his plenary expansion, he is present everywhere in all parts of the material and spiritual creation. Jai! So we're going to stop here. We have read the entire purport of text number 11, and tomorrow we shall read the next text, text number 12, beginning with the words Moghasha Mogha Karmano. And we'll be discussing some demonic and atheistic views. And then after that we will talk about the Mahatmas. Jai. So looking forward to that. Oh, and after that there will be Shatatam Kirtayantam. Okay. Bhagavad Gita is full of nectar, so stay tuned. Stay tuned. Excuse me, my mistake. I meant Brahma Vimohana Lila, not Govardhan Lila. Although, no, I read both of them. Yes, Brahma Vimohana Lila. And Krishna was not standing there with sweet rice, he was standing there with curd rice. Yeah, you have to, so that, like, nobody would get misinformation. Sorry. Also, he stole the cowherd boys and the calves, not the cows and the calves. See, I'm myself like Vimohana. I don't know.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. The book links, previous episodes timeline, and biography of the author can be found on shravanamdiaries.com. The link is in the description, and we shall see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.